Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. In this collection of 2 alleged paranormal encounters, join Henry Dawson and Jenny McDowell as they connect with spirits of departed loved ones. Henry's ghostly meeting with his close friend Todd and Jenny's visit from unfamiliar grandfather Robert challenge belief, suggesting that such bonds may persist beyond death and raise questions about the existence of an afterlife. A friend's parting gift. In an unassuming neighbourhood in Cleveland, Ohio, one chilling encounter would forever change the life of Henry Dawson, a man who, in his own words, believed only in what he could see and touch. This is a true story of how a ghostly visitation from a long-lost friend shattered his perception of reality and opened his eyes to the possibility of an afterlife. The year was 1998, and Henry was a 24-year-old man firmly rooted in the skepticism of the paranormal. He had long since dismissed any notions of the supernatural or life after death. Little did he know that a haunting experience awaited him, one that would challenge everything he thought he knew about the nature of existence. To understand the gravity of what transpired that fateful night of October 15th, 1994, we must first journey back to Henry's high school days in the early 1990s. It was during this time that Henry met Todd Anderson, a friend who would leave an enduring mark on his life, even beyond the grave. Todd was introduced to Henry through their mutual friend, George Phillips, whom Henry had known since 6th grade. From the moment they met, Todd stood out as an exceptionally genuine and kind-hearted fellow. Always upbeat and fiercely loyal, Todd quickly became one of Henry's closest friends. Tragedy struck in the summer of 1993 when Todd's family home caught fire. In an act of heroic selflessness, Todd, then 19 years old, rushed into the burning building multiple times to save his younger siblings. He managed to rescue 2 of them before making one final, fateful attempt to save another. As Todd re-entered the inferno, the weakened roof collapsed, trapping him and one of his siblings just 5 feet from the door. Both perished in the flames, leaving their community devastated and Henry grappling with the loss of one of his first close friends. Fast forward to one autumn night in 1998. Henry was driving his 1986 Chevrolet Cavalier down a familiar road, heading to visit a friend who lived in the same neighbourhood where the tragic fire had occurred just 5 years earlier. The air was crisp and a light fog had settled over the quiet streets. As Henry approached an intersection approximately a mile from his destination, he noticed a figure walking towards him about 100 yards ahead. The person wore jeans and a dark hoodie, hands stuck into the front pockets, and the head was bowed, seemingly focused on the ground as they walked. Something about the figure's appearance and gait immediately caught Henry's attention. The way the person walked, with a slight limp, was hauntingly familiar. It reminded him of Todd, who had one leg slightly longer than the other, giving him a distinctive stride, one so unique that Henry could have picked him out in a crowd. As the distance between them closed, an unsettling feeling washed over Henry. He couldn't shake the sense that something was profoundly wrong or strange about this character. Acting on instinct, he slowed his car to a stop as the figure drew level with him. The person halted as well, and in that moment, time seemed to stand still. Slowly the figure raised his head, and Henry found himself staring into a face he never thought he'd see again. It was Todd, looking exactly as he had 5 years ago, but one astonishing difference. His face was glowing with an otherworldly, brilliant green light. For what felt like an eternity, but was likely only a few seconds, Henry and the apparition of Todd locked eyes. The ghostly visage bore a serene, peaceful expression that contrasted sharply with the supernatural glow emanating from his features. Henry sat frozen in his car, barely 10 feet separating him from the impossible sight. Shock and belief paralysed Henry as he struggled to comprehend what he was witnessing. Eventually his foot slipped off the brake pedal and the car rolled forward about 30 to 40 feet before coming to a stop once more. Terror gripped him, and he found himself unable to look back, fearing what he might or might not see. After a few moments that felt like an eternity, Henry gathered his courage and drove away, his mind reeling from the encounter. As he continued to his friend's house, he couldn't shake the image of Todd's glowing face from his thoughts. The timing of this supernatural encounter was particularly significant. Just a week prior, Henry had confidently declared his supernatural skepticism to a friend. Now he found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about life and death. In the days and weeks that followed, Henry couldn't stop thinking about the otherworldly green glow he'd just witnessed. He began researching near-death experiences and was struck by accounts describing colours in the afterlife as being more vibrant and beautiful than anything on Earth. The brilliance of Todd's ghostly visage seemed to align perfectly with these descriptions. This haunting encounter marked a turning point in Henry Dawson's life. In the span of a few seconds, his entire worldview had been shattered. He became convinced that Todd had appeared to him that night with a purpose, to show him that there was indeed more to existence than what could be perceived through ordinary senses. From that day forward, Henry's outlook on life underwent a profound transformation. His guarded skepticism gave way to a newfound openness to spiritual possibilities. He began to see the world through a different lens, one that acknowledged the potential for mysteries beyond human understanding. Today, at the age of 50, Henry Dawson still resides in Cleveland, Ohio. He often drives through that same neighbourhood, passing the spot where his ghostly encounter occurred, and reflects on how a single moment changed the course of his life. While he may not have all the answers, he remains grateful for the experience that opened his mind to the possibility of an afterlife. The father in the photo. In the summer of 2018, in the quiet suburb of Springfield, Illinois, a chilling tale of supernatural intrigue unfolded. This is a story of 8-year-old Jenny McDowell and her unfathomable meeting with a long-deceased relative, an event that would leave her family questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. On a warm Saturday evening, Jenny was dropped off at her grandmother Margaret's house for a sleepover, a common occurrence that usually involved movies, games, and her favourite bedtime stories. However, this particular night would prove to be anything but ordinary. The following morning, on July the 15th, Jenny's father, Michael McDowell, arrived to pick up his daughter. As they drove home, Jenny spoke excitedly about the previous night's activities, the Disney movie they'd watched, the board games they'd played. But then she said something that made Michael's blood run cold. "Daddy," Jenny began, her voice filled with innocent curiosity, "I thought your daddy died before you were born. Last night, before bed, he told me that he is here to look after me. He even knew my name. Oh, and Daddy, he said he loves you and he's proud of you." Michael, trying to maintain his composure, suggested that perhaps it had been a dream. But Jenny was insistent, her eyes wide with conviction. "No, Daddy, he came to say good night after Grandma tucked me in. I promised." He had glasses, a leather coat, and a shirt with red squares on it. These words sent a chill down Michael's spine. The description matched perfectly with the only photograph he'd ever seen of his father, Robert McDowell. This photo, however, had been kept hidden away in his mother's safe for years, along with other personal items and important documents. Perplexed and slightly unnerved, Michael called his mother as soon as he returned home. Margaret McDowell answered, her voice calm and unsuspecting. When Michael inquired if she had shown Jenny the photograph of his father, Margaret's response only deepened the mystery. "Oh, that's impossible, Michael," she said, her voice tinged with confusion. "I gave that pic to your half-sister Kate about 5 years ago, along with some of Robert's belongings. Remember? She contacted me on Facebook, wanted to know more about her father." The reality of the situation began to sink in. Kate McDowell, Michael's half-sister, lived in San Francisco, California, over 2,000 miles away. Michael had never spoken to her, and Jenny had certainly never met her or seen any photos she might possess. As the days passed, Michael found himself pondering the implications of Jenny's experience. How could his daughter have described his father so accurately? The glasses, the leather jacket, even the distinctive plaid shirt, details that Jenny couldn't possibly have known. The McDowell family was left with no rational explanation for Jenny's encounter. Was it truly possible that the spirit of Robert McDowell, a man who had passed away before his son was even born, had visited his granddaughter? Had he crossed the veil between worlds to offer protection and convey his love and pride? For Jenny McDowell, it was a ghostly encounter that would continue to follow her. For her father, it was a chilling reminder that perhaps, just perhaps, those we've lost are never truly gone.